or the title that our Indian friend yesterday gave to his initiative called Global Tapestry of Al-. And I feel this is what's happening here. Bringing together so many movements, so many artists, so many forces together to listen to each other and join forces so on our planet today. Yeah, and what is also in my heart is to feel what a beautiful task we have in reaching out into the future as well as into the past. So we have to create completely new systems, have to create a new future for us, humanity and planet, to survive, while remembering our ancient roots and our cellular knowledge, which knows how to live on this planet in a peaceful way. And so we both go back and forward, bouncing back and creating a positive reality both ways. Yeah, thank you. Hannes will use our morning now.
Yes, so after there has been much talk about elders and youth, we want to start this morning in a special way, inviting the spirit of youth. This will be our opening. We already mentioned that over the past 10 days, I believe, a youth camp was in Tamera, and one evening this youth camp with the Defend the Sacred Alliance group. And out of this evening meeting, love letter from the youth to the elders, which we want to invite up here on stage. And one moment. And we will hear Toccata, who was on stage already, Haley and David from the youth camp, who will read this letter to us now, and also sing a song. I can't tell much more about this song, but we are curious to hear it. And so from that opening, after Vera and Sami will come here on stage or maybe in front of the stage, and we want to open this morning with a few voices from this space. They will say what that means, whether this is questions, statements, dreams, I don't know. They will know what to do with that. But so to open this morning in hearing from what is alive in this space right now. So I invite Toccata, Haley, and David to the stage.
A word to the elders. We love you. We love the story you carry with your smile. We appreciate the power and truth in your gaze. We appreciate the wrinkles in your skin like a detailed map. We love the guidance you gave us with your trembling voice.
We thank you. We thank you for giving to follow them as you followed yours. Thank you for teaching us how to talk with honesty, how to see with truth, for teaching us to hear with openness, showing us how to speak from love. We respect.
We respect and honor you for being the nourishing soil for the seeds, for creating the space for the roots of the future. We honor you for looking at the uncertainty of life and daring to follow the path of clarity and truth in a world driven by fear. This is the text of love and gratitude from us towards the elders who stand for a change each day of their life, to offer us the wonderful future that we are going to live. In love, youth.
I think I'll just say hi. Hi, everyone. My name is Tokata Ironized. This is my friend Haley. And we came from the Standing Rock Reservation in North Dakota. It's in the U.S. We are Indigenous women. And we're going to sing a song for you. And in our way of life, singing is one of the highest forms of prayer. And so in this space that we're creating, I invite you all to pray in whatever way you feel comfortable. Yeah. Mia taia mawani e o ya te wa amamani chaya ho taia mawani e Mia taia mawani e
morning. Thank you to the youth and thank you to this beautiful, powerful. And as a next thing, I would like to invite Konkanko also here for a moment to light the fire and do the water and fire blessing with me. And then we will lead you into the next phase of the morning. Come.
I guess I say a few words about fire, this mysterious force, also the son of the earth. Since its discovery by man, we have sat around it to warm our hearts, to warm our houses. But I want to say this word so that, with my voice, so the flickering flame that I light this morning has a significance. For 3 days already, also to honor that is the flame that cooks our food, the energy that we use. And for 3 days, immense information has fired our brains. So that this flame is the light that back to the communities that still have some corners of shadows lingering in their mind, that we have to turn the switch. And lastly, I light it in honor of the young who have three us to see they have gotten the message of the elders, that with this fire transferred to them, the global culture happen. The force of the universe, the force of the elders, down to the force of the youth and the children and the unborn generation, peace that will live here with this blessing, and we carry it to the four corners.
Thank you. And I want to greet you, beloved water. Thank you for being with us. Thank you for being in us. And thank you for being a wise, generous being, connecting all of life. Thank you, thank you, thank you. We love you. Thank you. So it feels we have been together for weeks already. I think it's 1.5 days, right? To keep and yesterday there was this, how did they call it, luxury of choice. So we had many different interesting sessions going on. And so we felt this morning, before having a conversation again, we would love to have a moment to harvest and collect pearls. And as a first thing, we would love to have a moment that you just turn to your neighbor or the one behind you, find a good way to couple with one around you, and have a moment of exchange around what are challenges, how is a good way with the challenge. This is also part of our training. Hold it for a moment, please. I see there's a lot of excitement.
Wow.
Okay.
Thought.
instead, I know a lot of activists in Mexico, in the city, that are angry. They are angry with life.
También de la misma manera conozco mucha gente en el camino de la espiritualidad que están demasiado en el camino de la espiritualidad, muy arriba, muy holy.
And at the same time, I know a lot of people that are in this path of spirituality, and they are a bit too much into this path of spirituality, too high, too holy.
Me gusta mucho lo que he observado en estos días y quería compartirles que siento que estoy en una ceremonia de activismo. Siento que aquí hay un activismo con espiritualidad, con conciencia. Quería felicitar al proyecto y agradecerles.
And I wanted to point it out that this is what I witness here in these days, this spiritual activism, and I'm really grateful for it, and I just want to say thank you and congratulate all of you.
And that he feels like he's in a ceremony of sacred activism. Thank you.
Hi, my name is Sharon. I just wanted to say something that I've been feeling here, that there's an amazing diverse problems people are facing, diverse situations from around the world. And on the other hand, I feel that we all have a very similar vision to where we want to go, and ideas of how to get there that are very common to all of us. And that's just amazing, and I think fills me with hope. So thank you.
Hi, I'm Irene. I'm
Closer.
up a bit. Hi, I'm Irene. I'm from Holland. I'm a neighbor here. The first day I was here, I drove home afterwards very full, and I felt shame, to be honest. I felt a deep grief first towards. It was hard to connect with my ancestors who have devoured the world, eaten it alive, and looking at it from a personal view, I also was part of a dominating culture. And I cried, and it was okay. At the same time, I didn't want to enter drama for the drama. I felt I want to take responsibility, and my work is in responsibility and kindness, and I felt inspired the next day to share. It relieved me, and also I felt more space for ideas and creativity to come in. And what I felt was an idea. I worked with traditional offerings from Peru, and I saw this image of inviting friends and neighbors and whoever feels the calling to make an offering for this grief and this pain we have caused, and to say thank you for everything we receive. It will come. I feel grateful and full, honored also to be here, and I want to say thank you to life.
So, a magical moment in a breakfast with Hanar Sariri, mi hermano Fernando Guanacchini, and Pat, and I think David was there, and the other Fernando. And Fernando told us of how, Hanar Sariri told us how he left the mountains 4,000 meters above the sea when he was 14 years old. And it started, I asked him what he used to play, which games they played in the caves where they lived. And until he was 14, he never heard Spanish. He never saw anybody who wasn't Aymara. He's from Bolivia. And then he left and he never went back. And somebody asked him, why didn't you go back? Do you want to go back? He said, yes, of course I want to go back, but I can't. Why? Because I have too many thoughts already, and I will get that field, that pure field. Somehow I would bother that field, and I can't go back anymore. But I pray for them that they continue that pristine way of living. That's a story. That's it.
Thank you. So we have space for 2 more voices, and to say we will have again a global circle tonight where more voices can be heard.
Hi. How the heart beats, like when I stand and see everyone. I had this impulse now suddenly came through my heart, like to feel the impulse that now it's me, like this little self from the whole organ, to stand up and bring my voice. And for me being here, I feel how much we are becoming one. And when I say this, I can see the flock of fish or birds or the bees that flying together. Like suddenly we are becoming this cell of doing really simple things together. We're going to sleep, we dream, we eat, we pee, we love, we make love. And each has his and her own part in this puzzle. And for me, every time when I feel it, I know that we are on the way. I really know that we are on the way. Like for me, it was the second morning of being in a dreaming circle, and to hear the dreams coming from the field of being together, how we are connected, how the web, the spider web is really connecting us in this space. And I want to just say thank you for this opportunity to remember that we are one organism. And in this one organism, each cell has our place and space to be exactly what we are in this moment. And thank you for the opportunity to do it together.
Yeah. Thank you. So in this spirit, may we all find the right moment today where our voice will be heard, and I will give it to you now.
Hi, I'm Amy from England, and I just wanted to read the last section of a much longer poetry piece which I feel encapsulates beautifully what we're all doing here. Yeah, I will. Okay. The same letters combined to make earth, make heart, and that is no mistake. For everything that comes from the earth, from our heart, we also take. And what if we gave more of ourselves? Each one a curious, imaginal cell that asks, what if we cultivate this impulse to nurture? Dedicated heart-earth connection researchers. And what if we found that this entropy was designed to drive us to peak complexity, bursting from our chrysalis into what we were always meant to be? Pattern system thinkers, generating a sense of possibility that we can be the change we want to see. And what if this learning became part of our human reality, adaptation mixed with flexibility, earth shepherds of biodiversity, land sculpting our future universities, where the only qualification is a vocational degree, where we learn to allow ourselves to be pollinated by the question, what if we sent love before we touched, asked before we work, are we in service to our heart? Are we in service to our earth?
Thank you. Wow, and full awareness of all the voices that are in this space that want to share. And as Vera said, we will have more time for more sharing. And I just want to welcome all those who are online watching us. And they're saying, I want to share too, I want to share too. But we can't see their hands. And so say welcome to this space as well.
Yeah, thank you. I just felt like also after this poetry to just once say huge gratitude to the translators.
On stage, not on stage. Yeah. Thank you. After this session, I feel that our job becomes more and more unnecessary, Saskia's and mine, of framing and guiding, because the space does it so beautifully. Thank you very much. Yes, and from here I want to lead us into the next part of this morning. We will be witness to a conversation between Sabine Lichtenfels and Pat McCabe. Both of them were already on stage. They were introduced. Sabine, co-founder of Tamera and Tamera's Global Love School. Pat, a Diné elder and medicine woman. And they will hold a conversation to the title or the question, Global systems change is inevitable. What is our response? Yes, so we can make ourselves open and perceptive, open vessels for the knowledge these women carry. And before inviting them up here on stage, I invite a women's band to introduce them, a women's a cappella choir. Welcome.
Hello. So we are a group of women, a group of students who have been studying together for the past years, living together, accompanying each other through a lot. And yesterday in the panel about feminine rising, there was a question, what tools can we take away as women and men? And Bessemer Conker said, women need to live together. They need to organize together. I thought, wow, we have that. And now we have the luxury and the privilege to spend the next 3 months together, studying, living. And I feel really grateful to have these sisters. And we are going to sing a song that's a prayer for life and a love letter to the earth. And it came to me when I was sitting in a tree, and I don't know if the tree sang it to me or if I sang it to the tree. Rise the sun and set the moon. Walk a long way, but come home soon. Roll the river over and through to the shifting tides, to the deep, deep blue. Roll the river flowing tides to the deep, deep blue. And may the mountains stand strong and tall. Stand strong and tall. May the valleys grow green. May the valleys grow green. May the rain fall. Rain fall. May the sun give way. May the sun give way to the starry sky. To the starry sky. May we learn to live. May we learn to die. May we learn to live. May we learn to die.
Ooh. It's overwhelming. Listening to the sound of this room when all of you were sharing, Pat whispered to me, it's the sound of a big waterfall. And I have to say, I'm really, really touched in which kind of respect and tenderness we are living community in such a quick moment, not stuck to opinions, not stuck to this kind of discussion frequency, but really having in center the sacredness of life. So before we start with our question today, I want to express my big gratitude to the land, to the Tamera community who are holding space, so deeply committed. Thank you so much. To the sounds, to all spirits who are with us here, to the indigenous wisdom which enters to our community, and to all the guests. Thank you the way how you participate in this meeting, in this conference. So, I could go on with giving thanks. Maybe I also start to express my gratitude to the love letter of the youth. It's so touching. I heard it now the second time. And then always my river starts and wants to flow from my eyes. And I think our pure tears could bring a lot of healing. And I want to say a bit more later about it. But first, gratitude.
Wow, if this is the revolution, I'm so in. Woo! Yeah, thank you. Thank you, thank you. I was sort of cringing to open up the microphone to a whole room full of global change makers. I was like, oh boy, here we go. And just spirit and love moving through right now, and along with some nitty gritty, I know, but just say thank you. We went through a deep process as the Defend the Sacred core group, worked on many things, and emerged, I would say, pretty much in love with each other. So thank you for entering our field with tenderness and beauty. Yeah. So maybe to start our conversation, because I kind of want you all to myself. You're just going to be voyeurs, but I want you all to myself. So I want to create our space. Maybe I'll sing a song with the drum, huh? Yeah.
Yeah.
I'm going to sing a grandmother calling song. Can everybody hear this voice for the moment? Poor drum.
There are moments where I like to clap, And there are moments where I feel spirit so strong in that I want to bow and to invite the spirits you called to be with us, to invite all the ones who are not in flesh sitting here, but who are holding the line for life and for this planet Earth. Thank you for this song.
Yeah, that was a grandmother calling song. So I want to invite those grandmothers that have come before us to be with us in this conversation. Such a precious time. And so for me, it's a moment to step up as elder, to be called to be the vessel for this time of such a precious gathering. So I definitely want them here with us.
Yeah. I have, on my right hand, I have a coin, which is a symbol for me, which I received in a dream. And this is the symbol for rising the feminine voice, not in the name of personhood, but in the name of the universe, in the name of Mother Earth, connected with the center of the earth, with the star beings, and to find ways that we learn to dedicate our life again towards life. And this reminds me that I'm not speaking only as a person here, but as this universal being. And I have a stone in the other hand to connect with the beauty of the stone people, which can tell us so much about the sacredness of life. Yeah. And I would like to ask you at first, we are sitting here with the question, system change is inevitable. What is our response to it? What is your response? You gave already, but maybe you also want to give some words.
She beat me to it. I was going to ask her the same question.
I want to receive it.
Wow. So we started out by, as we were thinking about how to hold this particular session, and it started out as a question, is system change possible? And my response was, whoa, hello. I think it's pretty much inevitable, one way or another. Global system change is inevitable, it seems to me. It's already changing. It's already changing. And also, it had to change. It had to change. I feel like for many years we've been saying, this has to change. This can't go on like this. There's this and there's that and the other thing and the other thing. And it has to change. It has to change. Well, here we are, man. It is changing. It is changing. And that's what we needed. That's what we called for. We invoked. So let us take a little responsibility for that. Maybe we weren't expecting that the earth would respond to that by doing what she is doing. But she did, and she is, and she will. And I also frame this inevitable global systems change. Well, I think I'll start with this. So in Indigenous time frame, human presence has been here hundreds of thousands of years for many Indigenous people's understanding. So that's part of an orientation where we differ sometimes, I think, and it changes our response to the situation. I think, because if we go by modern worldview, modern worldview started to say that civilization, however we might want to call that, began like 5,000 years ago, right? And and now it's having to change the time frame. They keep discovering this and that. In Turkey, they discover, oh wait, 12,000 years. Oh wait, so it's going back and back, and so that very small segment of a very long story is getting enlarged and enlarged, and that sort of changes things. And from my elders' perspective, we say that we've already been through a few worlds of rise and fall. Now, it doesn't mean that there isn't a gravity to it and a seriousness to it. There is. And so I guess I just put that out there. My clan grandfather said we're now in the 6th world. And he also said that they say we're going to go through 12. So you know, when I first heard that was such a long time frame. I thought, wow, I'm just an insignificant, not even a drop in the bucket at that point. You know, here I am, like, ready to be fierce for 100 years. I'm going to be fierce for 100 years like my grandmothers. I have grandmothers on both sides that lived to be over 100. And then when I think about that vast time frame, I'm like, wow, 100 years is nothing. But you know, my guides say to me, no, you're not, you know, from your vantage point, being embodied and walking an earth walk life, time is one thing, but you have to believe us when we tell you time isn't what you think it is. And so know that your heart matters. Know that your action matters. Know that your forgiveness will last forever. Your forgiveness becomes a part of the construct of the multiverse. Know that your love, every time you love, whether that love goes on forever or whether it's interrupted in some way, fails, we like to say, they say there really is no such thing. The fact that love arises in you becomes a part of creation, and it remains. So every time our love is raised, we're creating a foundation for life to move within that frequency, within that construct. And so they tell me, no, how you are, how you move, how you think, it matters, it matters, it matters. And so I guess the one other thing I'll say at this point is that thinking about this inevitable global systems change, you know, there's prophecies that the elders say, you know, they said, one day the world is going to become very, very lost, and they are going to become hungry for life again. And I'm going to say that those of us sitting in this room are probably not quite there yet. Some of us sitting in this room know about that in their communities. So let us not forget that as we sit here, there are already peoples in extreme circumstances from this inevitable global systems change that has already begun. And so we sit here in a place of relative comfort. They tell me, your wealth isn't what's in your bank account. Your wealth is that you get to choose what kind of water you would like to drink. Do I want sparkling water? Do I want alkaline water? Do I want, you know, et cetera? Where there are mothers desperately trying to seek a clean drink of water for their baby in this world. So I was told, you know, you don't have to be ashamed of this position of privilege. Yes, there are a lot of political constructs that go into that, but also see it as a destiny and also a responsibility. What are you going to do with this privilege that you sit in? Because when our environment begins to degrade, we begin to lose our mental abilities. We begin to lose our ability to act because of the pure toxicity going on, right? So for those of us sitting here and maybe those of us watching, I'm going to say, an inquiry might be, what is your destiny to sit in this place of privilege, of having clean food and clean water at this time? Why are you called to sit in that place? But to go back to what the elders said, they said, so the world is going to become hungry for life again. And when that happens, they're going to come look for us, meaning indigenous peoples. The ones that got run over in this wild race we've been in to we don't even know where, not towards life. And so we have to prepare ourselves for this inquiry that's coming back around to us, where the world is saying, wait, what was that you guys were doing, and what was that you guys were saying? So this is requiring a lot from us. Sometimes I even say, that's Jesus status. To be able to turn around after that, after everything that we went through, and meet that inquiry. But we can do it because we have spiritual tools. We have the spiritual tools to give us right mind, right heart, right body, right spirit. So I feel like I have that framework from where I come from for this inevitable global systems change.
So you want me to speak to the same?
Yes, please.
Thank you. Of course, what you spoke would arise already many questions. But first, thank you for bringing this in. And listening to you, I feel there are so many different levels where there is a point where it's so clear that there is eternal life beyond time and space. And I feel as a young woman on this globe, learning to relate more and more and more deep to this sacredness of life, which reveals these secrets to us. So for me, to this question, when I hear the youth, for example, not having elders, not coming from tribes, for me it was a gift to notice that there live still tribes, like Gabriel mentioned it today, there are living tribes which are not at all in contact with this crazy system of capitalism. And these are not many anymore. So they know about relating to the sacredness of life, and they know how to build community together in a way that they can stand and protect all the different levels. So when I was young, facing the situation of this globe, we were starting movements because we saw this system is failing. And often I feel it's challenging sometimes that we make this Western people and the indigenous people. And I know that also in our tradition, many people did not want to participate in the globalization of war, really did not want. And they did not have the wisdom and the power how to resist. So I hear so many stories. If you go to the mountains in Germany or in Switzerland, or people who were in concentration camps because of their resistance, they had powerful tools, but the other system became stronger. And there I'm now talking of a moment which is connected to time, where there is the call to act in this time in a way that humanity can survive. And listening to the young people and coming also from Germany, from this movement where all the people are standing up, this Friday for Future movement, so many movements. And I want to call in one of our co-founders, Dieter Dohm, who first we thought would speak today. And he prepared this beautiful flyer, A Movement for a Free Earth. And he is now 76 years old, and he is telling to the young people, yes, we are here, we are with you, we dare to resist. So thank you also that the young people recognize there are elders who from maybe when they were 15 said, no, we don't we don't bow to the system, even that we have such better circumstances, how you mention it. And then, maybe I quote a little quote to make it his voice here also visible. In order to overcome the capitalist system, we need a positive vision for a post-capitalist order of life. We need a common vision for our children, for all those who have to flee their homelands, vision for victims and perpetrators, a vision for love, and for our own relationship to animals, to nature, and to the whole cosmic world from which we all come. This vision is not an invention of human beings. It exists already as a latent reality in the entire blueprint of life. And for me, this is one of the core points where I feel the system change which is happening in the movement for water, for climate change, all where we have to raise our voices and to say no to what is happening with the capitalistic system. A memory wants to rise and to give us the courage to regain the wisdom of community of truth. I think if I face the globe and if I see what makes it that we don't have the power, it is because we lost this memory. And when we noticed in our movements fighting the system, we noticed, oh, this anger doesn't bring us the power. We even empower the system by calling on the streets, no, no. And suddenly we discovered that the same, I'm too quick, sorry. The same fight, what we are claiming, is happening between the ones who want to resist the system. And because of this, there was the call where we noticed we have to step out really. We have to find our ways to reconnect with life. Yesterday you said life is the plan. And in a way I agree fully, life is the plan. To listen again to this miracle of life. And I hope that at least at some places this will happen on such a deep level that other people have the courage to reconnect with this. So I feel two really inevitable calls. The one is regain the memory of community of truth, because we are community. As we are beings, we are community, and we lost this. And the other part is that we know that there is the information of war running all around and destroying everything. So how can we start an information which is connected with the power of life? And finding the journalism, finding the exchange of a movement where we can help to protect life. And I feel it is happening. It is happening really strong. And maybe one day there will be no internet anymore. Then we need to find the system of spiritual connectedness. And for me, coming from this education of religion, I'm so happy if we remind ourselves to a much deeper level how prayer is meant. And I feel prayer is meant to reconnect with the language to whom we address and really can listen on a spiritual level. And this system change, I feel we are in it. And I'm looking with all you together that we find this communities and people who are engaged to build this spiritual net, to build this global net of truth for life. Yeah.
I keep orienting to different possible future scenarios. Maybe that's common among us. And they keep shifting. So in this sense, I feel I go back to this spiritual concept of the great mystery. And I think that in the way I was taught in academia, with science, in modern world, in modern economy, you're supposed to know. Like, you're supposed to know. And how much you know, and how deep you know, and how much you can express what you know are very highly valued attributes for a human being to have. And I also feel like I was supposed to be in control of my situation, like financially is a very big signal outwardly of how in control I am of my situation. And so I feel like all of that is getting ready to get deeply interrupted. And so I'm being led to other principles. And I was already being led out of that place of knowing and controlling. And I think certainly to open up to this capacity, you know, in our circle yesterday, in our panel about the feminine, the women rising and the feminine revolution, to really surrender to myself as receiver of instruction from the Mother Earth, to be a receiver of instruction from the Spirit. Well, you know, one of the things my guide said to me at one point was, "Your understanding of cause and effect is rudimentary." They're scolding me. Rudimentary. I like their vocab. And so I said, I believe you. I believe that could be true. And so, all right, I wonder, what other kind of cause and effect can I be a part of? And I said, I'm willing to learn. And that has taken me, that willingness and that saying yes has taken me on a pretty wild ride ever since. And the first thing they said to me was, if all times are happening at the same time, what is possible? So right away, it's like, so they gave me a feel of what it would be like to be in an entirely different sense of reality and construct. And so they've been working a lot with me around time. And the same with this idea that I expressed yesterday, that rather than try to tell a new story from this point forward, we would be better off retelling the old story. And by retelling the old story, we automatically change our trajectory into the future. So there's another time twist. And so my sense of control, my grip on control, has already been being loosened and loosened and loosened to be open to other possibilities. And so I feel that it is a time for me to open deeper to a concept that I was told from the Lakota spiritual way of life, which is that we have 7 directions, the cardinal directions, above, below, and at the center. And the way that one at the center was described to me was, they say, that's where the great mystery resides. And also, that's where the holiness in each one of us resides. So those are together there. And so in my prayer, when I approach that medicine at the center, lately I've been calling it that takuwa shkan shkan shkan, which is that sacred movement, as Tiokasin was saying to us earlier. It's the movement behind the movement, behind the movement, behind the movement. But the way that I've been holding that place is I've been inviting in something that I have been naming Wowakan, the Wowakan. And I say that one doesn't know any of our rules. That one doesn't know about time moving in one direction. That one doesn't know about gravity. That one doesn't know about terminal. That one just does what Creator tells it to do. And so for me, that's a part of what's in this great mystery. So a lot of my work right now is to just keep opening, to be supple, to be pliable, to be able to be molded by another kind of cause and effect. And I guess I'll stop with this to say that, you know, this linear way that the intellect has. The intellect is something that is necessary for us to have, but it's not our only tool. Human beings are capable of having a very broad spectrum of ways of knowing. So when I sang that song, you know, something opens here, something opens inside of you, our space changes. And that brings us into another way of being and another way of knowing. So humanity has a very broad spectrum of ways of knowing. And so I've been saying, you know, it's like that saying, if all you have is a hammer, everything looks like a nail. And I'm going to say, if all you have is an intellect, then everything looks like a problem to be solved, and everything is to be categorized. And that's a necessary thing for some things, but not for everything. And so in this one, we come up with these logic trains, I say. So if this, then that, if this, then that, if this, then that, if this, then that. So we started out over here, and now we're way over here. And too many times in that logic train, we left common sense behind, way over here. And to me, too many of our endeavors are that way. We forgot that life lives over here, and we're way over here in genetic engineering, for instance. And so also with that logic train, as soon as it hits, it's just exactly like a train. As soon as there's like a rock on the rail or something out, you know, the whole thing screeches to a halt, and immediately we say, we're doomed. We're doomed. Because the logic says doom right here. But I'm going to encourage us to look at other diagrams for logic. And I'm actually working, rather than thinking of the logic and seeing what the diagram would be, I'm looking at shapes, spirals, a center with points radiating out from it. What do those shapes tell us about another kind of logic? So that's how I'm sitting with this changing landscape and this changing possibility for this inevitable global systems change at the moment.
Thank you for your words. I'm still looking for a way that we also put questions to each other, because you are bringing us to a mythology which is really important for me to listen. I could listen hours and nights to your stories. And now I try to pick up something about this question of the logic and the thinking, because I think it's so much a question, what part or role does science have in our system change? Does it have a role? And I come again now from this, where there are so many meetings and conferences where often the young people say, yes, there is the head, and the head says this, and my heart or my says something different. And my feeling is that we have to really, what is science in a so-called new age? I would say it's in the core. The logic with an open heart will guide us to different recognitions than the logic which was starting already with the separation, where there is matter and we own land, we own the water, we own our women. And there is a logic, an intellectual pattern which is in contact with the sacredness and the divine inner logic of life. And my feeling is that life itself carries all wisdom. I feel thinking as natural as breathing, but this is not the thinking of our mind. Our mind normally creates at once separation. It's also needed, but we are mostly conducted by the mind. If we see there is, for example, scarcity of water, we normally think at once, what can we do? This, that, that. The thinking of the heart is different. The thinking of the heart first contacts with the water, asks, and then it will be revealed something with our brain. And I like to make this difference between the logic of precise thinking, where I'm not the best in, but I like it a lot. And I'm very much like to listen to, for example, this masculine, often very clear, precise thinking, and I learn a lot from this. For me, this is also a bit the sacredness of the masculine. And there is the intuition. And this is another way how the earth and how the sacred matrix reveals to us. And when you, for example, say you are following your guidance and you feel guided, I would agree to this fully. And for me, this would be a full, interesting dialogue or question. What does guidance mean to you? And again, not having elders in our direct line, I feel the elders in my back. And it's such a learning to dare to follow guidance. And it's such a learning to make the difference between romantic fantasies and real listening. And for example, my feeling is this place would not exist if we would not have dared to follow the guidance. I could not prove before whether it's real or not. I had to obey. Is always a bit, it's not that domination power is there, but I had to listen. And there I feel a common vision connects all of us. We are coming from different directions to the same core and secret and mystery of life. And I feel life will always stay a secret. There is always mystery in the center, the unknown in the center. Yeah.
So something that I'm working with, coming from a similar place, we're very similar, I think, in that way, moving from that guidance, moving from prayer, moving from a logic beyond intellect, maybe the earth's logic, hopefully. So for you, how, at what point or how is like direct action called for within that space, would you say?
How?
Yeah. Or
Yeah.
What are your thoughts about
here?
that?
I'm so very grateful that we start to understand a movement where we connect prayer with activism. So, for example, when I visited the peace community in Colombia, for example, and we went there with 50 people, or we organized a pilgrimage. Before, I was sitting under a tree for 4 days, asking, is this real? Is this wished from the whole? Does it serve the whole? Are we in danger or not? So I never want to act as a hero. I think the age of heroes is over. But acting from connecting with listening to the prayer of the earth and asking, what is next? This I do. I practice in my life always. And this is also a point where I learned a lot from your practice when I listened to Tiokasin or when I was in Peru, and I try to listen and to learn, and I relay on the inner guidance where I feel we can learn all from this together. And I think it's needed, the action, for example, when we visited Hambacher Forest, where all the big trees are cut, and I'm so grateful that young people dare to stand up, to say no, and to say it in a way that they don't attack, because I feel we all have to learn how can we overcome defense, and how is there the higher power which enables us to overcome the system of violence. And there I feel the connectedness between tribal wisdom, community wisdom, and people who dare to act. This movement I feel we have to create together, and there it's called for action. Was this an answer?
Yes. So for me, I'm having to consider how to orient to direct action more. In my home, our water is under threat. I'm going to say that there's a water war at your door right now. And if you're not aware of it, it's not because it's not there. It is there. And part of that has to do with there is suddenly this equation between water equals oil. So here's an example of that logic train thing. Because they need the water to get the oil out of the ground. So in my home, my son and two of my sons and my daughter were at Standing Rock. My son, one of my sons went up to go stand with Winona LaDuke at Line 3 pipeline. And it was really amazing because when this issue came up in our community, and my son had never approached me this way before, but he said, "Mom, we're having a meeting about our water tonight, and I wonder if you would come and open it with prayer." And I was like, I mean, we'd never had. I have some of my children and I do a lot of ceremony together, but this particular son, we don't do a lot of ceremony together, and so he learned that at Standing Rock. So I said, I don't know what all those elder women were doing with all these young people, but boy, they did something pretty amazing. Because all of these young men in my community and women who had gone, they knew. They were like, we can't do anything until we have the older women involved and then until we have that prayer. We don't want to do anything until we have that prayer. And this was completely new in my community. And a completely new kind of way of approaching activism. And so, there was a lot of discussion around, okay, should we do this? Should we do that? What kind of direct action? I told them, I don't know, this is kind of a funny reference, but there's this movie and this book called The Godfather, right? And they have this one man is the counsel to the mafia leader, and at one point they tell him that he's going to step aside and somebody else is going to come in, and they say, "You're not a wartime consigliere." And so that's what I said to them. I said, "I'm not really a wartime consigliere." I said, "Maybe you want somebody else." They say, No, Auntie, we want you to come and sit." And so I've had to reorient to that direct action place. My son chose to then occupy this deep aquifer water drilling rig, the first one, because they want to poke 14 deep aquifer holes into our valley. And we say, gosh, I don't think you can begin to know what that's going to do to our water system even though they claim that they have the science. Their logic train is sound. But we say, no, I don't think I don't think you can know. So anyway, so when he chose to occupy this rig for 4 days and stay up there, completely surrounded by our state police, I had to reorient again from this place of peace and realize that it is a part of the peace. And how could my son do anything but that? So as grandmother, as auntie, as the feminine, I'm having to reorient to this sacred warrior spirit way. And that's a new place for me. It's not a new place for many people in the world. And in our group that met earlier, the Defending the Sacred group, we heard from the people who are on the ground in the middle of that. And yeah, so I just want to put it on our radar in this beautiful, lovely, peaceful place that there is that opening. But for me, the prayer. So they kept sacred fire for him for all 4 of those days. They kept a sacred pipe filled for those 4 days. Our police, I just want to say this, our police allowed his companion and a spiritual woman leader in our community and his brother to go meet him when he came down. They allowed them to smudge him off, to clean him off spiritually with the sage, and they allowed him to smoke out this sacred pipe before they put him in the police car. And many of them said, we know why you're doing this. So we have to be open to new possibilities in allies and relationships too.
Thank you. We receive the sign that we should come to an end. Thank you for these words. And just because we have here the fire and the water in the center, I feel they are really community teachers for us. When you speak about the sacred activism, I imagine that we all, at the places where we live, would really connect with the water. And I think the water would show us how to live in transparency and contact to the land. So this for me are typical examples, or also the fire. If we are really aware of the fire, human beings were the ones who learned to light the fire. And with this, they could circle around the fire as sacred places. And if we regain this wisdom, I think we will regain the power of change for a movement which brings us back to that earth can be paradise. And I feel she is meant as this. And so we heard also this word local actions, yeah, that we learn at the place where we are. If at the first places it will really succeed that people live this again, it will have a big healing impact. It's like if you take one medicine, the whole system can recover. And for this, I feel we have to build this kind of connectedness and movement of trust and real relationships. I love also how you always say, connecting to all my relatives. Yes, we are related to each other. We have to remember this. And so thank you for all your work, what you are doing. And I hope that we will stay as sisters and discover our secrets. And we did not even mention the masculine, feminine, sacred sexuality. I would love to speak 1 hour with you around this. But that time doesn't exist on one level. Thank you.
Thank you, Sabine.
thank you very much. Thank you to those beautiful women here on stage. This was a very rich morning, and we won't even try to now find the summary and the essence of what has been spoken, but you will have time in the groups just after the announcements that we will still have to give to you, to deepen, to digest, to reflect upon everything that has been said here, just to honor the hunger for life that is becoming so present here. And I want to mention this piece of Dieter Doom again that Sabine quoted in her talk, "A movement for a free earth, an appeal to the youth and to all others," written by Dieter Doom in June this year. And outside of the aula, you will find copies of it to take away for you. And with that, we just want to also honor Dieter Doom's work and life. Without him, this place wouldn't exist. This vision wouldn't exist. And for me personally, as a young person, he is an extremely inspiring, visionary thinker, truth seeker, and a role model of how we can use our capacity and our hearts in the best way. So thank you to you, and find the text outside of the aula after this meeting.
Our media team is working in the background all the time, and yesterday, while the parallel sessions were going on, we already received the question, so where do we get all of that? In the coming days, all of you will be sent a link via email where you can access the material of this conference